Good morning. How are we all doing? It has been too long. Well, I'm trying to rectify that this morning. We're still painting the Death Company. In fact, I haven't done any hobby since the last time when I dry brushed these fellas. Life has been busy. But we're coming in today and we're going to be painting, I'm hoping, all the metallic details. We've had awful weather where I am, so I'm a father and my kids have been off for school. So yeah, I've been busy with that. But while I was out yesterday walking, I don't know if anyone saw the short. It was my first short that I put out. We hit 50 subscribers. So I am incredibly grateful for that. It should mean that I can do live streams now, which was what the goal was for this channel. Although I've hit 50, like I go into the YouTube app and you go to the section where it says, you know, would you like to live stream? And it hasn't like refreshed yet, so I'm not sure what's going on there. We'll see. I'm going to give it 24 hours and then I will try and contact somebody, I suppose. So what I'm doing just now, rambling about my stuff, is I am going over all the details that are either going to be gold, silver, and possibly red as well. I think I'm going to do that. This book thing that he's got, I'm going to probably paint that all gold. These are supposed to be speed painted Death Company, so we're cutting corners where we can find them. So things like, I mean, you could paint it leather if you wanted, but things like this belt here, it's actually meant to be a leather belt that attaches. It's a bit loud, isn't it? It's actually meant to be a leather belt that attaches like pouches and grenades and stuff. But I've decided that I'm just going to paint them red. They can be like a mark of some kind of Death Company band or something. I'm just going to paint the blood drop here. If you've watched any of my other videos, specifically the one for painting the Sanguinary God, you know that I absolutely love Flesh Tearers Red. And Flesh Tearers Red being a contrast paint, benefits from a little bit of help to go on, so the silver will really help it stand out. These are going to be white probably. That's the Death Company are supposed to be white, so. I should probably be using a better brush. This is one of my ancient brushes. I'll go for the blood drops. I think I'll leave the crosses. I think that's probably going to be more hassle than it's worth for the crosses. And if you try and get in there and paint all that silver, you're going to just spill over into the black. So I'm going to leave that. And I think we'll just go and do the typical corn red for them when we come to it. But we'll see what happens. We'll figure it out together. Another relatively quiet week for 40k content, isn't it? Not really much going on. I suppose there's the World Championships. other than the World Championships, there's not much going on. I did notice that I had an email yesterday from Weta Workshop, who are the manufacturers of collectibles in New Zealand. They worked on like Lord of the Rings. You'll likely know who they are. But today, at like 3 o'clock, they're putting out their showcase for the Living Saint. They've made a new statue. So I've got the Titus one, for example, the big Titus statue, if you've seen that. And they're putting out their next one, the Saint Celestine, the Living Saint. Or actually, no, Abaddon was the one after that, wasn't it? Abaddon, the useless traitor. Yeah, so that's gonna be cool. My missus was interested in Sisters of Battle for a while. I was considering picking it up, but she hasn't played for ages, so I don't know. We'll see. We will see. Right, is that all the... Oh, I've missed one there. I was struggling to find time in the mornings to come and do another video, like I was saying. It's typical, isn't it, really? Like, normally I get like months and months and months of nothing really changing with my routine. And then all of a sudden, boom, everything kind of happens. So like my daughter's off from school. She's been off for 3 days now. I don't normally talk about, you know, my family and whatnot online. I've found that Warhammer is pretty much my, you know, I keep that separate. It's my hobby and whatnot. But I suppose for what I'm doing now, it's useful to talk about it. I saw somebody's death company yesterday that they painted these vents on the jetpacks red, like a red intake glow. Looked awesome. I'm not sure I'm going to try that. Maybe with a captain or something. And these guys, what should we do for them? Should we paint them white or gold? I think we'll go with gold. That's one. Haven't missed any details. I suppose you could paint these if you wanted to. Me banging the banging the light again. I should go and get a new one in the Black Friday sales. Oh. Excuse me. Normally what I have in the morning is like an instant coffee. I save my decent coffee for later. And I have an instant coffee, so I ran out this morning and it was like, oh, what do I do? Do I spend ages making, you know, ground coffee? And instead I've pinched one of my missus's hot chocolates. So. Yum yum. But my goodness, it's a bit sweet for first thing in the morning. I started packing up my my army for for next Saturday. The Dreads versus Treads game. It's going to be awesome. I'm still looking forward to that. I'm still not sure which one I kind of want to play on. Oh, here's an interesting part. What do we do with this? Do we... Obviously, this is going to be red. That's all going to be red. And these will be red. I'll have to make that a different red to stand out. And that's going to be casing, so that can be silver. What do we do with the... What do we do with the guard? Gosh, I don't know. I think what I'll do... I think we'll paint it red. Which is going to be a pain in the butt after I've done all this. I'll paint it red, and then maybe where the spikes are. Does that show up in the camera? We'll do that gold, perhaps. Yeah. I wonder whose bone that is. You see that? He's got a bone strapped to his eviscerator. That's funny. I'm very much looking forward to getting these guys on the table as well. At some point, whenever I can. Again, if you've watched my other videos, I can't actually really play at the moment anywhere. There's a few fellas that I know from my store that are running kind of like their own games now at their houses. So I might go and join in there. Oh, the first accident, first of many. I don't know about you guys, but metallics is probably not exactly my favorite thing to paint. I don't like working with metallics. I like looking at gold when it's finished. I like shading gold, but actually putting the metallic paints on is not what I consider particularly fun. Blood drop, blood drop, blood drop. I always find that when I'm doing these things, you always miss something, don't you? And then you've got to come back. It's good to give it a good once over. There's nothing worse than moving on, especially when you're doing a metallic paint. Like you've moved on, you've cleaned your water, and then all of a sudden, nope, got to go back. Incidentally, if you do that, save it for at least another metallic if you've got to do something. So if you're doing like a highlight and you notice that you miss some metals along the way, just wait until you're doing that and then do it. Again, we're all trying to cut down on time, so. Yeah. Oh, wow. Forgot the straps. It's interesting, isn't it? Like when you think about Space Marines, when you're reading books or whatnot, you always imagine that they're like fully enclosed suits of armor, and they're not, are they? They're just kind of like stuff that is strapped on. That's what these things are. They hold them on, and obviously the bodysuit is visible. Incidentally, now it's fully dried, the black armor. Doesn't that look great? All from a dry brush. Very happy with that. That was a pretty popular video as well. Everyone seemed to like that one. I did wonder if it was a bit clickbaity. You know, how to paint, Death Company and painting black armor, and it really was just my morning session. But if it's useful, I guess I can't moan too much. I'm grateful. I almost started a new 40k book. That was the next thing on my agenda. I haven't read like a Warhammer book in quite a while. I was put off by something that happened earlier this year. And I moved away and I started reading A Song of Ice and Fire. But I'm getting the itch to come back. I almost got that Black Templar book. I've never read any Black Templar stuff, and I hear it might be pretty good. And then there was the Carl's Oath, which was the one about the squats, the kin or whatever they're called. I'm not a massive fan of the kin, to put it mildly, so I missed that one. But I'd like to. I might actually revisit some of the ones I've already read. Like I've forgotten most of it. Up until very recently, I was pretty prolific with reading my 40k books. So I've done like The Heresy, for example. Well, I'll be honest, I've done all but 3. Like I've done the whole Siege of Terra. And I've read all the Heresy except the it's not even the last 3. It's like because I've read the last book, but it's the 3 before the last one, which includes Titan Death, which I really want to read that about. What's it called? That place where Sanguinius takes over and does some mad stuff. Gets him stuck in. Is it Bisa Garmin? But really what I'd like to do is reread the Gilliman books, the Plague War books. I've read them before the time change because they came in and they retconned where exactly it happened. Which, by the way, I know the reasoning. I know I've had it explained to me why that was important, why they did it. Still, I don't like it. I did not like that they did that. It changed the tone of the book, and it made Gilliman's character seem even more mopier than he was. You know, and it made sense in the original books. If you've not read it, I'm sorry. I'll be talking about some spoilery stuff, I suppose. Will I? Okay, I'll try and keep it spoiler free. We're just going to be talking about the time setting and the difference between the old book and the new one. So, when it first came out, it was set 112, I think it was, 112 years after the Great Rift had opened. It was set at the conclusion of the Indomitus Crusade. So basically it finishes up with a big battle and or a big celebration, sorry about that. Right in the opening, so it's not a spoiler or anything. And then he takes his forces and he goes to and he goes to Macragge, to Ultramar. And that's where the book takes place. And when you listen to Gilliman talk, you get the impression that he has been on his own for like 100 years, a century, without contact with another Primarch, a brother, his father. Because if you don't know, Gilliman, when he first came back, he went on the, I think it was called the Terran Crusade, where he went from Macragge to Terra to meet his pap. And yeah, so that conversation happened. And he's been on his own running the Imperium for 100 years. And even a Primarch is not really designed for that. They weren't built to be on their own. They were part of a unit, part of a group. And so he was lonely, and he was under immense pressure, and he had been for a century. And if you think about it, like the entire heresy took place in 7 years. Start to finish, 7 years. Before that, the Great Crusade was 200 years, of which the Primarchs, were found. So like Horus had been found almost immediately. Have I missed these parts in the other models? You see what I'm talking about? You end up missing stuff. Yeah, even Horus, who was found earlier on, wasn't around for the whole 200 years. So they've always had somebody, a peer or whatnot. Either that or they were growing. So it made perfect sense that Gilliman was starting to be a bit down about things and all the rest of it. Then the time change happens, right? So they decide that they didn't want the Indomitus Crusade to be shown to be over, because they were about to do the Dawn of Fire series, and they didn't want to make, hey, look, everyone knows how that series finishes. I think that was the reasoning anyway. So they changed it to 12 years. They went from 100 to 12. Now, you might say, so? And I've had this conversation before, and people would also say, so? Yeah, it just means that, there's a bit of agency with the Dawn of Fire series. But here's the thing. The book was written as if it had been 100. So even though they've now changed it to 12, the rest of the book was written when Guy Haley, the author, was thinking he's been on his own for 100 years. So Gilliman goes from, being understandably down, depressed Gilliman, you've seen the memes, to down and depressed Gilliman because he's been on his own for 12 years. 12 years is nothing. 12 years is absolutely nothing to a Primarch. So he talked, I'm holding it all together for 12 years. Are you kidding me? That's absolutely nothing. He'd be fine with that. And it does also make the fact that Gilliman has already been all over the galaxy a little bizarre. During 100 years, you could say, yeah, okay, he made it to Baal at one point, and he's been all over the Imperium Sanctus, and that's fine. But now 12 years and he's done all that? I don't know. I'm not a fan of it. I'm not a fan of the time changes, which that was a rather long-winded way of me saying that's the reason I've not read them yet. I have not read the books after the time change. I read them before. I've actually got the collector's edition I bought for them for the new ones. I should have to show off my book collection at some point. It's over to my left. I've probably read well over 100 by this point. The Heresy is like 60 odd, plus the 10 Siege of Terra books. And then I've read, a few dozen of the regular ones. God, that was a bit of a rant, wasn't it? Sorry. I get pretty passionate about that stuff. Or I used to. I'm trying not to anymore. Especially when it comes to changes. Like, I'm well aware that the current people that do this stuff at, Nottingham HQ are a bit loosey-goosey with changes. They don't mind changing things up from now and then. And I guess that is okay with them. So, doesn't really matter. Anyone who follows my Twitter account can probably see me ranting about it now and then. I think we're going to do that gold. So I don't really need to paint them. I do like a good rant sometimes. It's going to be white. Speaking of ranting and speaking of books, I was, give me a second. I've been having conversations on a subreddit about books, and one of the topics that always comes up is like, what is the worst heresy book, or what are the bad heresy books? Which ones can I avoid? And you've probably, if you know the topic, you've probably already spouted the two that I'm about to say in your head. You thinking of two? I'll give you a second. Think of two books that you can consider bad in the heresy. So everyone says Battle for the Abyss, and they say Damnation of Pythos. Everyone, like without fail, will say those two books. Now, I think Damnation of Pythos is one of the best books in the entire heresy. It's definitely in my top 5, and it might be in my top 3. I've never really given it that much thought. My top 3. It's definitely in my top 5, though. It is one of the best introductions, I would say, to Warhammer 40k or 30k. It's a pretty good horror book. I don't read a lot of horror, so I have to say pretty good because I don't have much experience with horror books. But it is a horror book. It can be read at any point. It's a standalone book. And it is so bonkers that it fits into the Warhammer universe incredibly well. And there's certain details, certainly, especially the ending, that is just perfect. It's such a good book. It reminds me, in a lot of ways, of Devastation of Baal, which is why I don't really understand what the hate is. Well, I mean, I do get the hate. I'll come to that in a minute. But yeah, it reminds me of Devastation of Baal in that it's like a complete story. Like I consider them like mini sieges of Terra. In the Siege of Terra, it starts off with the Void War. So the traitor forces come into the Sol system. And you get like a book about that. And then they start breaking down the wall. So you get First Wall. Breaking down the fortress and all that kind of good stuff. So you get this like massive invasion that ends up with them, you know, by the end, the defenders are ruined and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, Damnation of Pythos is kind of like that, because you've got so many different stuff going on, and it fits really, really well. So there's like void warfare in there, there's ground warfare, there's intrigue, there's a human element in there, which is always good. You know, you don't always just want to be following the Marines around, so getting some humans in there is really good. You've got the dynamic between different chapters of Space Marines. In this case, it's Iron Hands and Salamanders. It's a great book, and the reason why it wasn't well received was because at the time it came out, Games Workshop were wanting to create, the Horus Heresy was going to be just stories from the Horus Heresy. You know? So authors were able to go and write about whatever they wanted, stories from within the Horus Heresy. That was the brief, I guess you could call it. However, the audience wanted stories that led to the Emperor punching Horus in the face on the bridge of the Vengeful Spirit. And they wanted to get to that point as quickly as possible. So any book that wasn't about getting to the Emperor punching Horus on the bridge of the Vengeful Spirit as quickly as possible was seen as a waste of time. And that is the reason that book is generally not particularly liked. Or at least people say it. Now at this point, I reckon that people just parrot what they've heard online. You know, half the people that say it's a bad book probably have never read it. And they've heard people talking about Damnation of Pythos. But, like I said, top 5. If you've not read it, I would thoroughly recommend at least go and listen to the Audible version. The Audible version is excellent. It's read by Jonathan Keeble, who is probably the best narrator that they've got. Terrific narration. There's so much going on in that book. Go and pick it up. This is when a proper content creator type person would be like, check out my link in the below for my Amazon Audible, what do you call them, affiliate links or something. But no, just go and do it. Go and find a way, listen to it. It's not even a particularly long book. Now, Battle for the Abyss, I kind of understand that one a little bit more. I liked it. I thought it was okay. But then I'm an Ultramarine fan, and anything involving the Ultramarines, I'm normally into that. And it was all about a massive battleship making its way to Macragge to destroy Macragge. Reminded me of, I think it was meant to be, but it reminded me of Hunt for Red October, which I quite liked that. So, who doesn't like Hunt for Red October? But again, it suffered from the same point that, it wasn't really about the Emperor punching Horus in the face. Or getting to the Emperor punching Horus. Did I? Oh, I didn't paint the other one's vents either. Look at that, I'm missing bits all over the place. How many are we on to? I want to get 5 done at least. This is kind of what I was saying about earlier on in one of my other videos. You know, if you find yourself in a hobby slump and you're not working and you're not progressing, which is where I've been for like 3 days. I haven't had the time, and any kind of spare time, I've been so knackered. I'm like, we'll just stick on a video on YouTube. We'll open a book, we'll read a couple of pages, or play a video game. Because you feel like painting takes up so much time. It doesn't have to. It does not need to. So get a little bit done. Just get a little bit done. So this morning is going to be about an hour. How much can I get done in an hour? It looks like I might get about 5 of these silver details onto these marines. That's him done, isn't it? I'm so happy with how that black came out. I'm not sure you can see that under there, but you see where the dry brush is like scuffed. It looks like bowel damage kind of thing. It looks great. I'm very happy with that. I guess we're talking about books this morning, so I was watching a video from Chapter Master Valrak last week, I think it was. Let's go back and do these other guys. And he was talking about how there might be a book release soon for, what do they call it? The Beckwin books. I think they're just part of the Eisenhorn series. But then the shift goes from Eisenhorn to her or something. I've only read the first Eisenhorn book. So he was talking about that. And I know, unfortunately, I know who the Yellow King is, or at least the suspected Yellow King. The Yellow King isn't even in the first book, if I remember. I've read it like twice, I should know. So yeah, I know the rumors about who that is, and who he says the name of this Yellow King is. But I would like to be caught up when this 6th and last book comes out. So I'm considering restarting and giving Eisenhorn, another go. Six books, and I think he said it was due to come out in like spring. So I guess we'll see. I was thinking about whether or not I was going to talk about the Yellow King, but I kind of wish that I didn't know, so I'm not going to talk about it. If you know, you know. I should really swap to my small brush for this. These face paint details. But I too like to live dangerously. I love how that looks in the Primaris body, those helmets. Like, have you seen the new Sternguard kits? Ah, so good. So good. But yeah, this is exactly what I was talking about. Like, I am feeling now like I could go for hours doing this if I had the time. And so I'm a big believer that if you're in a hobby slump, just sit down, get your paints out, put on a podcast, put on a YouTube video, put on some music, pick a color that you're going to do, and just start painting it. And before you know it, you're going to be well into it and you're not going to want to stop. Or, if that doesn't happen, like I said, just do 15 minutes, half an hour, 1 hour, whatever it is. Put some work in. But this is the kind of content that I wanted to make. So I'm not entirely sure if my the channel videos that I've put out so far are really this kind of, you know, hobby hour content. Oh, I've done him already. I hope it works out. We'll see. We'll see how it does. But I'm so chuffed with the support. I did not think I would hit 50 subscribers that quickly. I thought I'd be asking people to subscribe for that for ages. And the fact that we've already done it is so cool. It's so good. I'm very grateful for it. I need to come up with a new goal, I suppose. I think it tells you what the next goal is and what you unlock and stuff in the app. I think it's is it 500 or something? That's quite a lot. Or a couple of hundred at least, anyway. But let's go for 100. 100 subscribers sounds awesome. If you like this ramble rant content while I'm painting silver, you can tell me why. I'd be interested to know that. I hope it's because it's just something you can have on in the background while you're painting or whatnot. And I call them like friend simulators when I listen to people that do stuff like this. So if you do like it, let me know why. And if you haven't already subscribed, because 90% of my audience hasn't subscribed, please do so. For more tutorials and whatnot will be coming. Once I get these guys finished, I'll do a long format or an edited down video painting another Death Guard. And then, don't forget, we've got this guy coming up. Oh boy. Don't think I haven't forgotten about this guy. Look at him. Oh, he looks so good. He looks so good. Got to be careful with this thing down at the bottom, because that's going to fall off if I'm not careful. But yeah, we've got Dreadnought Tycho to get round to, so lots of things to look forward to. Unfortunately, that's pretty much all the time I'm going to have for this morning. I would have liked to have gotten all 10 of the silver details, but that's taken me, 42 minutes? I got another 5 to do. But I've got stuff that I have to get away and do today, so I think I will leave it at that. My one of my elder sons is graduating today with his master's, so I've got to go and get ready and meet him. But thank you very much for watching, and we will see you in another ramble video. Hopefully tomorrow, maybe. We'll see what happens. Thank you very much. Bye now.